here. Well, it always is, especially as the afternoon goes on. Before we say hi to Kevin Seifert, or actually we can say hi to Kevin Seifert.
Hello.
Right now. But it is worth noting the MLB trade deadline just passed at 5 o'clock, so about 7 minutes ago. And we have added another relief pitcher, Jeff Hoffman, from Toronto. And, of course, the kicker, as a lot of the people who cover the team have noted, is that Hoffman had been the closer for Toronto until Louis Varland came along.
I remember him.
Who had him?
I remember him.
Did we have him?
Until about a year ago.
I thought we did, but yeah. I guess you can't, again, he's gone. There's only so much you can do about it. So Hoffman is I believe he's a right-hander, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
They were looking for one more righty. ERA of just under 4, 3.94 in 51 games, 75 strikeouts, 18 walks. And we're sending pitching prospect Dasan, or is it Dasan? D-A-S-A-N, Hill, a lefty who is classified as the number 8 prospect in the Twins farm system in Baseball America's rankings, along with Brooklyn Park native John Klein and high-class A infielder Demiri Pena to the Blue Jays, along with $250,000 in international signing money. Hoffman is in the second of a 3-year, $33 million contract. So he's owed $11 million for next year. Probably means we'll dump him to find a way to trade him in the offseason. We'll see. In any case, they did try to help the bullpen, and that's it, right? We don't have any other moves to report.
Correct. The Twins say they're done.
Deal got nixed by the Astros owner,
apparently. So,
according to media reports, so he's still with us. Okay, Kevin Seifert is now in the house. Now, here's what's interesting. I had a couple sources say, be prepared for a fairly cranky, by his standards, head coach who's probably going to give a lot shorter answers than he usually does because he might not be delighted with the way practice went late. So you get to watch much more closely. We're in this perch, and we love it for access, but in terms of actually seeing practice and getting in the weeds, sometimes from this vantage point it's kind of hard. So did something go awry with the passing game, or what took place?
Yeah, so they ended the last period of practice was basically a 2-minute drill, and if I'm remembering right, J.J. McCarthy starts off and basically goes on the 3 passes he threw, 2 pass breakups and an interception. So they did not complete a pass. They did a couple runs, but whatever. Kyler Murray comes in, and I think he's 0 for 2 or 0 for 3, so he does not complete one. There's a false start mixed in there. There's the last play of that drill and the practice was like a miscommunication where receiver cut in and he threw long, and it looked like O'Connell just called it at that point. And it was very windy, so who knows how much anger he could express,
right,
and loud with the airplanes going through, how much anger he could express the team. But I could see where, and it didn't sound like he was short with you, but I could see where maybe he didn't think that was the best end to a practice that he's ever had.
Yeah. Well, I'm never going to, and I mean, if I ask him about it, what's he going to say? Well, it didn't go very well.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like,
Go get him tomorrow.
July,
yeah.
It's August, what is it, the 3rd?
Yeah. I
mean, it's a little early for that sort of thing. Although it certainly sounds like you've already declared it. I mean, like I said, if you were doing those, election night projections, you'd already, declare Minnesota for Kyler Murray. I mean, it's very clear.
I mean, all I'll say is what I've been saying and will continue to say is that watching them as in terms of talent, I don't think that it's very close in terms of arm talent, the way they throw the ball, the decisiveness that we've seen from Kyler Murray. He has been far from perfect. He has had the miscommunications we've talked about. He's had some plays where you can see that he's not totally sure where to go. But in a comparison, I have not seen anything to suggest that I should come off the idea that he's the heavy favorite for this job. And I think the people who have been out at practice would probably, I don't think that I'm being controversial by saying that. I think the people who have been out at practice, whether it's media people or fans or radio jocks, whoever, would come to the same conclusion.
Has McCarthy, has he looked awful? As he just looked in comparison not as good.
Yeah, I mean, that sequence I just mentioned
that was
not good.
Not good. Yeah.
But that was probably an offensive-wide thing. He has looked like, I mean, even a little better than last year at training camp. He's a little less frenetic. There's fewer passes that are, sailing as far away from the receivers as they did last year. But they're also, there's a lot of plays in this offense, in this league, where you're throwing to the tightest of window, and the accuracy has to be pinpoint to hit a Justin Jefferson, screaming across the middle with a guy, right on him. And you've seen more than a few passes where he's just a couple inches, a foot off, and the pass is incomplete. And so, and not that Kyler Murray has hit every single one of those either, but he's hit more of them. And so, and it gets back to what we've said, is that the amount of improvement that J.J. McCarthy would be needing to show in this camp to sort of propel himself beyond what Kyler Murray baseline is was significant, and it has not happened as of yet.
Let's move away from the quarterbacks, and I want to talk about the center. And you're going to have to help me out, because for wherever I thought it was Brandel, and now I hear some people say Brandel. So I don't know. Do we have a definitive ruling on how to say his last name?
I've always said Brandel, but I also just call him Blake when I
well, that's probably
see him,
easier.
So
maybe it's good alliteration too.
Yeah.
So they clearly have committed to him. I'm trying to figure out if they have out of necessity or out of belief. And why is it logical to believe that your concerns about the center problems are over?
I wouldn't necessarily go that far. I think they had some interest this offseason in both free agency and in the draft of finding someone. They eventually did draft a center in the 7th round, but drafting someone earlier to maybe provide some competition or another alternative. Same in free agency, and then it just didn't work out from where they were in the draft standpoint, and they obviously didn't feel strongly enough about anybody to move for that. And the same in free agency. They were not looking to spend a lot of money in free agency regardless, and I don't think they saw anybody that was of value that they would have wanted to spend money on, so they did not. And so they felt like he had shown them a lot of potential last year, but the guy that was the first time he played center in his entire life, and so there's lots of reasons to think that he has a long way to go to be a really competent center. But from everything you hear, there's the confidence level is enough that and the performance level has been high enough that there's not been reason to think that they're working the phones every minute to try to find a center. Now, will they do that in Labor Day-ish time when rosters are churning? Potentially. And it doesn't feel like there's a competition between him and Michael Juergens, who started a few games last year at center as well behind Ryan Kelly. And so, I think there's a faith in Keith Carter, the new offensive line coach, to get him up to speed. And I think that there's a general idea that you can't address everything every offseason, and they had a possibility, and they're going to push it as far as they can.
So again, I'm trying to figure out how in your position you can evaluate trends. The quarterback play seems more obvious because you just watch how the 3 quarterbacks perform, and completions, interceptions, whatever, snaps, etc. But regarding this alleged revolution, you mentioned Carter, the idea that, and it's clear. I mean, the head coach talked about this before. He talked about it again today with us. That in effect, I thought. He didn't use these words, I am, but we're too finessey. We got to be more physical, and that there's a way to make that manifest itself. Can you see that progression in practice? Do they hit enough to even know what the hell that means? What are we looking for?
The first day of hitting, so I don't know that we've been able to draw any conclusions yet. And it's really hard to say, well, they ran the ball 6 times out of 12, team plays, so that means they must be more committed to the run this year. I mean, they're just practicing it. I'm not really, I think that they're working probably a little bit more outside zone type runs that you used to see Dalvin Cook do a lot, and Jordan Mason's pretty good at it. But, in terms of drawing conclusions, we won't know about competence level or commitment level until the season starts. There a lot of things can be said. We can see things going well again in practice in particular drills or whatever, but there needs to be a commitment and a confidence in it for it to have the effect that they want to have an effect, and we won't know if they have either of those until we see what their decisions are on game day.
So are the running backs the same, basically?
Yeah.
Don't we have a draft pick, too?
Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason are the top two, and Jamon Claiborne is the draft pick, very fast guy. He actually has some kind of injury. I'm not sure what it is, but he was running in full pads but out on the rehab field today, so he did not participate. But if he was in full pads, I don't know how significant of an injury it could be, and they're not required to divulge injury information right now. But it seems like he's a little nicked up at this point.
How do we feel about that group? I mean, Jones has been a really good player, but then the feeling is, okay, maybe we could upgrade there, but we didn't. And
they wanted to.
A solid pro, we just didn't get there.
Yeah, I think that there was some interest in Etienne, who was in Jacksonville, and ended up in New Orleans for a huge deal, and I don't blame them for not doing the deal.
Too big.
The deal that New Orleans did, but they would like the idea of an explosive guy to pair, and I think there was some time where there was questions about whether Aaron Jones is going to be back or not, and it was right in the middle of that, and then they don't get the free agent that they thought they might get, and then they.
So he's a fallback, you could argue.
In a sense,
little bit.
In a sense, yeah. I'm not saying I guess I can't say he wasn't going to be back at all.
Right.
But and he eventually came back on a pay cut. But
so are we starting to figure out again the notion that I never accepted when you did? Running backs are meaningless. Dime a dozen. You get one in the 8th round. It's a placekeeper role. It doesn't matter. Are we starting to again come back to the idea? Well, if you can get a dynamic player at that position, that's good too.
Well, I would say there's a combination. Like, say there's 20 running backs in the draft, maybe one or two of them are guys that can be the type of guy you're talking about, a dynamic, explosive, change the
kind
game,
of guy like Detroit.
Or I guess the Cardinals hope Jeremiah Love is that guy, and change the game, score anytime he touches the ball. The rest of them, it's a matter of their abilities, but also the play calling and the blocking and the timing and all that sort of thing. And so, I don't think that it means that there's never a game-changing running back, but there's usually not a whole lot of them.
Are we going to be, you mentioned, late additions, the idea of you take a look at some stuff and say, well, maybe we're not as proficient as we thought at such and such a spot. Let's keep an eye on the waiver wires. What about another pass rusher? Are we almost obligated to add another pass rusher?
I mean, and there's a lot of teams that want to do that. I know that didn't Jadeveon Clowney just go to Houston?
Oh, is that right?
To Houston,
okay.
And so there's guys that will be out there, and then there'll be some people that maybe are available for trade or available on waivers or what have you. But I think this is a time of year where it's okay to see if there's anybody that had made a huge jump in the offseason. I know they're using Tyron Ingram-Dawkins, who was a draft pick last year and was more of a defensive end. On the edge a little bit more just to see what he can do, but I wouldn't rule out that possibility at all of them going to get somebody between now and the start of the season.
Do we have a punter controversy brewing?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I think
maybe somebody was just trying to get me going.
Well, the international guy they have is a pretty. We haven't really seen a whole lot, but they did punt in indoors when they had the rain on Friday, and then he had some big
Looked
kicks.
Pretty good. Okay,
but I don't know that I can judge it any more than that. But in terms of trusting a veteran, I think that's certainly what O'Connell probably prefers in Johnny Hecker, and they were together in the Rams, and so he knows him a little bit. And so I guess I would be surprised if it comes to the point where they pick an international punter over Johnny Hecker, but we'll see.
What's the date of the season opener? Do you remember?
13th? September
13th?
Yeah, I think that's it.
And that's against the Packers here, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see you there.
Well, it's not a matter of whether you'll see me. Will you see Harrison Smith the day, but will he join the team? Will he deign to join the team on the 11th or something?
The possibility is definitely there because there's been no, and I guess he's not obligated to announce if he decided to retire, but I think word would have gotten out. And so there's definitely the possibility. They did sign Jamal Adams, but he's been working only as a linebacker, not as a safety. And so they drafted a safety in the 3rd round, Jacoby Thomas from Miami, that they like a lot. But just the way they talk, if he called them and said, I'd like to come, there'll be a room for him. And so it's really up to him. They're trying. I don't think I think they realized that bugging him or pressuring him or really pushing him to make a commitment one way or the other is not the best use of anyone's time. And so, if the call comes in, it comes in.
Here's the question, though: if Aaron Rodgers took this approach, we'd destroy him. Well, now, I know he plays quarterback, but we'd savage him. So, what are you doing? This isn't about you. There's plans that have to be made.
Brett Favre did that. Did you savage him?
No, I didn't. Well, no, because we were desperate. Are we that desperate at safety for him?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. But he's such a unique player at this point in his career and in the Flores scheme that there's value for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you have a date for when we're going to know? When they're going to declare. I mean, not when we're going to know, but when they're going to say.
You said the 14th.
Well, I was stealing. I think it was Scoggins wrote I think he said September, August 14th.
The Friday before the preseason.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Well, it probably wouldn't be that day because there wouldn't be a presser to announce that unless they just send out a press release. But it's very possible to come before that first preseason game. It's
it doesn't sound like we're going to play the quarterbacks in the preseason, though. He kind of hinted at that again today.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, but he basically said it's still pretty hard to do it. That given the injury concern.
I take that. I've heard him say that. I've taken that as to use the preseason game as like part of the competition. In other words, each team play one series.
Oh,
or
yeah,
like that.
Maybe that's the decision because he did say you can't play them 3 quarters.
Yeah, you're not going to have. Kyler Murray play halfway into the second quarter, and then J.J. McCarthy finish through the third quarter and have the first team offense out there the entire time. So that I think that they'll all, unless they're nicked up or something, I think they'll both play in the preseason at some point.
Yeah.
They did that with Sam Darnold a couple years ago, and he was the established starter at that point. And JJ, he just played one series, but he did play, and JJ the same way last year.
I had a million more questions for the head coach because he did give expansive. I didn't think he was as bad on the word salad as he said. He's always worried about that, but they were expansive answers. He wasn't short. So what I wanted to get to, I'm sure we've talked about this a million times. Did we not franchise Darnold because we just felt it was we would end up alienating the player? Because I always felt like that was the middle ground, which was based on the late finish, which was a little concerning. You go, all right, I don't want to lock in forever, but I want to take another look at him, and we'll obviously have to pay him a good amount of money as a franchise QB. Why didn't we consider that option?
I mean, I honestly think, and we've talked about this, there's a little bit of what you were talking about, but the others, they thought they had Daniel Jones. And I don't know if they right. And you have to remember the timing of that was going on. Like, he had just had that Detroit game and so there was not the slam dunk. In retrospect, it looks like a slam dunk, but in the moment, it was not a slam dunk. And they thought they had another option. That's why they brought Daniel Jones in at a weird time of the year and put him on the practice squad during the season. Right. Like, that wasn't for charity. That wasn't to be just to help out a guy because they want to help people out, because they wanted to get a head start on the next year's veteran. And they did, and I think they thought they had him, and they didn't execute that very well, and he ended up going to Indianapolis, and the rest is history. But the question to ask is, if you knew that Daniel Jones did not want to come back or was going to go to Indianapolis, would you have franchised Sam? And maybe the answer would have been different.
Yeah, well, that goes back to, I think they were unrealistic in evaluating the situation themselves on Jones.
Yeah.
Because Jones clearly could see, no matter what they tell me, they're greasing the wheels for McCarthy. They want to get to it. They're chomping at the bit to be validated on it. And that, to me, is why they shouldn't have counted on that for that very reason. Because they're not going to convince them.
Yeah, and I'm not sure there was universal agreement to be chomping at the bit in the building. But
what was that supposed to mean? So you're going with Chris Carter on the theory?
No, I'm saying that. Well, no, because I've said all along they wanted Daniel Jones. If they wanted Daniel Jones, then nobody's chomping at the bit. Not everybody's chomping at the bit to have a rookie, essentially a rookie starter. So I think
you're not identifying who.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you're trying to sign Daniel Jones, are you chomping at the bit to get from your perspective?
No.
Are you chomping and you're offering him $17 million or $16 or whatever it was?
Well, why did he think that?
Or $14 million?
Jones clearly thought he had a better shot in Indy, and he was right.
And he was right, but because I think he read the tea leaves and maybe didn't. Yeah, but they or like was perceiving what he perceived the tea leaves to be.
Yeah.
I always maintain, and I think we've talked about this, if he had signed, what would have happened last summer? Would Daniel Jones have not beat out J.J. McCarthy? He probably would have.
He might have.
But the way that J.J.
Yeah, the way he played, he would have. Yes, he probably would have. That's true. That's true. Well, we'll never know.
Yeah.
It's what makes this organization so fascinating is the relative dysfunction at the quarterback position, or the what ifs. And why is that? Because, and that's why I don't blame him for wanting to believe in McCarthy. We don't want to have all these scenarios where we have this. We just want the guy who's going to be there for 10 years, the new guy.
I came across a stat that I'm going to use later this summer. Basically since free agency started, the free agency era of the NFL, the Vikings, only one team has had more different quarterbacks lead them in passing in a given season.
Wow.
And that is your Cleveland Browns, which is...
Not even the Bears?
They might be tied, or maybe one. There's a couple they're tied with, but it's not a list you want to be on. But the Vikings have made it work in a lot of ways.
Relatively speaking, yes.
They had to patch it together many of these years, and a lot of guys had the best seasons of their careers here, but they have never been able to, for lots of different reasons, just make it go with one guy for a long time. Even when they thought they did with Dante Culpepper, it ends up with the injury.
What day are you locked in on for the fair? You're not going to budge, are you?
What fair?
You're not going to budge. No matter what.
My calendar now has red every day of the fair. I'm sorry. I would have come, but it's all
It's just such a stubborn streak.
Well,
I don't understand it. It's a wonderful event. Guardsy and I
have a great time.
Live for
I'm not trying. I don't want you to not have a great time.
It sounds like you resent people who enjoy it.
I don't like the idea that everybody has to enjoy it.
But I don't even think you give yourself a chance to enjoy it.
I've been there before. It's fine, but I shouldn't have to feel obligated to enjoy it because it's there and that's what everybody expects.
I think you've been pretty.
We need to give people space to not feel
to reject the fair,
to just move up, to live their lives.
Okay.
Let people live their lives fair free if that's what they choose to do.
That's fine. If you can live with yourself, it's your conscience you have to deal with down the road at some point.
Yep.
All right, we'll let you go at that. We appreciate the time. And when is our first preseason game?
It would be the day after the day you say that they're going to name the
that's
quarterback.
right.
So 15th. Yeah, in New York.
Well, what's today? Today's the 3rd.
That would be a week.
We're getting there.
So basically you're saying a week from Friday is the day.
Might be sooner.
Yeah.
If it keeps going the way you guys are describing it.
It could just be one of those where you don't even need to make an announcement.
No chance we trade JJ before the season starts, though, is there?
If that's assuming that he loses the competition, and if you've just lost a quarterback competition and you didn't have a great year the year before, what's your value? Is the value there?
Limited, you're saying?
I mean, people.
There's geniuses out there who think they know better,
there, and they might. And if it happens, but I guess I don't view that as trading someone at their high value.
Yeah. We appreciate you. We'll talk next week, if not sooner.
Okay.
Thanks, man. Kevin Seifert from a very windy Vikings training facility, TCO. Everybody's pretty much gone except us. Fields are wide open. We expect the sprinklers to turn on here very shortly. And we can't wait for Rick Spielman to do his walk around the edges of all these practice fields. That was an old tradition, wasn't it, Guardsy? Back in the day. Back in just a minute here on The Fan.
Before we go, The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give a shot to win bonus bucks for the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword is fun. The keyword fun. KFAN.com. Keyword fun.
You're listening to Barreiro.
Miss a moment. You can get front row seats to the Power Trip Morning Show. Program password, exclusive interviews, and more at KFAN.com/watch. It's powered by Quantum Fiber Internet.
It may sound like we're in the middle of a funnel cloud right now, but it's just the nature of the wind tunnel location here at TCO Performance Center, Twin Cities Orthopedics, to be specific, Performance Center, and we apologize for that issue. doesn't really matter which direction we turn, whether we do a 180 or a 360. It doesn't matter. It all is pretty much the same. So we're just going to try to power through it. The rest of the program today. It was interesting. It's very clear that KOC had a little bit of defensive-ness or annoyance with not so much me asking the question, I think, but with one of his former receivers who was still might be on ESPN. I don't know.
Adam Thielen.
I
don't know if he's there this week with Orlovsky.
Danny Orlovsky.
Yeah.
Because it is true that Thielen did try to give the impression you've never seen an offense as complicated. You think Flip had a complicated offense? This is 10 times more complicated.
Yeah.
Exactly. And because then I basically read him the comment from Orlovsky that we spent some time on last week, that the quarterback of this team needs to understand who the star of the offense is. And I don't think he particularly loved that. But it was fun chatting with him for sure.
Well, I can't imagine there's any world where there may be a head coach that would go, you know what, Dan's got a point. If I could get these quarterbacks to say, just to understand what I'm doing.
Bill Walsh, in his prime, might have said it. He might have said, "No, you're right. Actually,
yeah.
I mean, I can give you the false modesty if you like, but if they do what I'm
serving it up for
them to do, I'm serving it up for them. That's for sure." We did get an acknowledgement where we've been way too finessey. We've been trying to tell you people that for years. Now, what I don't know is whether just bringing in a different coach or coaches and maybe a bit of a different blocking scheme can change that, because it's still the same players. Can you make players be more physical at the line of attack, at the point of attack when it comes to the running game? I don't know. I hope it happens.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that simple. We'll have to see. But that's a harder thing even than the quarterbacks get a handle on, right? Because it's so subtle on the running plays, and right now it's like, I guess people can hit each other, but you can't maul anybody, and you can't touch quarterbacks.
It's still
right,
it's still responsible tackling. Even though pads are on and they're going full.
Yeah.
The coaches love to say we do thud, which is you hit them but don't tackle.
That's true.
Because you are right. The only way you can really practice tackling and practice blocking is to do it. And you got to be careful about it. And so, yes, even in the simulated stuff, you can say that's what made that. It was Chili's 06 training camp. It was 20 years ago now, which is crazy. That was what made that one stand out so much, because even back then it was a lot of physicality. So to answer your question, I think you can to a certain degree, but also these guys are kind of who they are. They are who they've been. But if you get them 5-10% more physical, does that help? Only time will tell, Davey.
Yeah, well, it's an ongoing issue, I think, that's been true. But it's a matter of, I guess, whether you can make that change on the fly, or if it is directly related to who you have in the trenches. And to me, that's what makes this maybe a little bit more complicated than that, but maybe not. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a combination of things. And again, you got Darisaw allegedly healthier. I don't know. I mean, on Brandel or Brandel, whatever it is, the center, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I can tell you that he's going to be a disaster. I still have a lot of baggage from last year where he was basically forced into the position.
He was.
He had no experience with air. It just plays center. Did you see the comments today? I don't know if this is trolling or not from the Bears head coach.
No, Ben Johnson, I didn't.
Who's the Bears center now?
He's our guy, Garrett Bradbury. Yeah.
The quote, in fact, let me see if I can find it. I think I maybe even saved it. So I'm trying to figure out if he's messing with us, because I think he likes messing with other teams in the division.
I think they all kind of do.
I guess, too.
There's a lot of alpha males in these rooms. They like tweaking when they can.
It's not the number of snaps, it's what the snaps represent. That's from one of our Wiseacre listeners.
Kirko looks good in Vegas, by the way.
Is that true?
Yeah, Kirko's doing all right.
Where did they
going to be the starter. He's mentoring Mendoza. They're making videos together for the Raiders Entertainment Network.
Mike McCarthy wants Aaron Rodgers to play in the first 2 preseason games. Why can't we play in preseason games if Aaron Rodgers can play in them?
That's true.
Now, again, I guess it's about how long you play. That would be the big issue. I can't find the exact quote, but he basically made him out to be the greatest center in Chicago Bears history.
Jeff Saturday, Matt Burke.
Exactly.
You know.
So I don't know, maybe because we turned on him, right? He's getting overpowered in the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
Right? He's too small. He's as big as Kyler Murray. We can't use him at center. So, but again, this is part of the conversation we got into with the head coach. It's just because someone has not, or just because some other team gives up on a player, that doesn't automatically assume or make it automatic, I guess, that player has no value, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what to me is interesting about how you judge the Vikings, how they got interested or were willing to spend to the degree that they did. It wasn't a lot of money, but they still had to commit the one-year contract to Kyler Murray, given what Arizona had done. I mentioned LaMelo Ball with the head coach. Charlotte just had their best season ever, and they basically, when the Wolves called, what do you need? Well, here's what we need. You want to do it? And it was done in like 8 minutes. So, but that doesn't mean Ball can't be good, or as good here as he was there, maybe even better. It doesn't mean Kyler Murray can't be good, but it is an interesting question about how one team's rejection, you take him and say, well, we have a different style we play. We're asking him to do different things. Or maybe he gets better, or maybe we didn't use him right. I mean, that's part of what has to be factored in, and maybe that's what Arizona's going to look back on, is that they didn't play to his strengths, and they didn't build the infrastructure around him that he needed. That's also possible.
Like one of your favorite poets and artists, Macklemore, said in the hit song Thrift Shop, one man's trash is the other man's treasure.
Is that the quote?
That's one of them. Here's your guy, Ben Johnson, on Garrett Bradbury. He's been extremely impressive, super smart. We're cooking with him out there.
We're cooking. We're cooking. Did we ever say that?
No.
About him here?
No, we didn't.
We basically said we got to get rid of him. He's always the interior part of the line of scrimmage is killing us.
Couldn't hold up in the middle. That's what they said. Wasn't sturdy enough. Didn't anchor enough.
It's true. All right, let's get caught up. A pause here. I want to get back to maybe a little bit of Lynx conversation, which we at least touched upon much earlier in the broadcast today. If you are trying to communicate with us, better to do it via X, Dan Barreiro, KFAN, Guardsy, KFAN, correct? That'd be the easier way today. The text line not really available to us out here, so we apologize if you've tried to get us going and will not be able to. Back in a minute.
This is Dan Barreiro, live from the TCO Performance Center in Eagan for Vikings training camp on the Fan.
Bumper to bumper in a wind tunnel. We are at the TCO Performance Center. If you're just joining the program, we've had a very lively, eventful visit, our first of this 2026 training camp. We'll be back out here on Friday. Already chatted with Chuck Foreman, chatted with the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, chatted with Kevin Seifert, even got some time with Johnny Athletic, who eventually will deign to show up at training camp 2, and Bigfoot the rest of the athletic people and do the serious think pieces at that point.
Probably the day like Tim Conley comes out to take in camp. That always happens.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. Man.
He'll probably time it up that way.
It's absolutely remarkable right now is what it is.
Well, I'd say no wonder neither quarterback was good today.
Yeah,
how are we supposed to throw in this?
Yeah, it's got to be very difficult, I would say. Not helpful. How about the kicker? Is Reichert still brilliant, though? He actually handles everything.
Yeah, I saw nothing about Will to throw today. Did he even kick?
Yeah, I don't remember I saw it.
Yeah,
a kick.
I don't think I saw a kick today, but we're in the belly of the beast, but we're like 7 fields away from what's really happening, which is fine.
So do they do that to mess with us or to actually give the people who show up better spot to watch the action?
I would say the latter.
Because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're not really trying to mess with us necessarily.
No, I like this spot, but when they are down doing in front of the fans, which
you would need either a telescope or really good binoculars.
Maybe sometime I bring the wireless out and I'll just do a segment from over there.
That's not a bad idea.
I probably could.
Are you allowed to do that?
I don't know. That's what we'll ask.
We could vet that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad idea.
I could go stand over by where everybody else is standing.
If again, they're practicing Friday during our show, that's not a bad thought.
Yeah, and maybe we'll do like little quickies with like PA and Bursich and Lieber, and we'll just do it that way.
That's fine. That makes some sense to me.
I'm going to figure that out.
You were at the Lynx game against Indiana. The Lynx had a 9-game winning streak going in. I think the Fever had a 5-er. Very hot teams. National television game. We would have loved putting it on the radio, but there wasn't an opportunity to do that.
Correct.
Texters had asked us about it. It's not on us. But you were there. I watched via the broadcast. First half was just marvelous offensive execution, clinical dissection of whatever defense that the Fever, if they were trying to play defense, played. And then the second half, as you said, eventually we kind of had to hold on, right? But
I think the lead got to 5, down to 5 at some point. Yeah. Whoa!
There goes the notes.
There's your notes.
That's great.
That wasn't for the 6-10 segment,
actually,
was it?
it was.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Oh no.
No, but I have it down, and it can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was.
Hang on.
This might be.
I'm going to put this windscreen on. This will really help, I bet.
This might be the windiest I remember it being.
Yeah.
This is serious, isn't it? I mean, is this what it sounds like to be in a funnel cloud?
I've never been, but maybe I have.
Man.
Yeah.
That's remarkable, is what it is. But I mean, a great national TV matchup.
Yep.
Where you had one team that's been the best in the league, the other team with Caitlin Clark that's emerging, and of course we've got the star rookie who is already very much in the running for MVP, right?
Yep.
So it had pretty much all of the elements, and especially in the first half, you kind of saw, right, that as a sort of showcase kind of event for the league.
Right.
Even with all the other stuff going around it, that was about as much as a league that rarely gets out of its own way could have asked for.
And that's why when I got a text at like 10 o'clock on Saturday evening that some tickets were available, because we mentioned the ticket prices were insane, obviously, going in.
Yes.
And I ended up buying an upper deck ticket as well that was, I think, $70, which is more expensive than some Wolves regular season games in the upper deck where I sat. It just felt like one of those games that we have in a regular season where obviously the postseason is going to be important for both of these teams, but you're looking for little things along the way, and they're getting closer to the end of the regular season. And I mean, I was excited about the game all weekend, just being able to watch it, hopefully, and then being able to go. It was, and to have it live up to the billing. Caitlin Clark, always, there's a different buzz, just undeniable. Obviously, with Olivia Miles now, there's another level of buzz. Nafisa being back, a huge part of it.
Another element.
Then the off-court stuff added a whole nother element to the thing. So I throw that all in, like the energy felt like it should, I thought. Just the whole building felt like it should. It was a great environment, and I don't know how you do much better than what Olivia Miles did. She didn't score. They definitely changed how they were guarding her in the second half.
There was an adjustment made.
It was basically, when you do the pick and roll, we're going to make you get rid of the ball, was essentially what it was. And we're going to make it hard for you to get rid of the ball. She is smaller. So they started double teaming her very aggressively off that first screen, and that effectively got her out. And then the Lynx late, I thought, did a good job of not putting her in that situation, and she kind of had that dagger with the reverse layup to put them up 10 in the final minute. I don't know what else. I mean, she's making such ridiculous plays look so easy.
Yes.
Over and over again. Like, as I was sitting there, because I was by myself, my family was in other seats, I'm like, it's hard to just not take that for granted already, because that's just what she does. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And you mentioned what happened in the second half. That's what I guess needs to be watched, because as you get into the playoffs, that's when teams get really serious about, well, what do we have? We got to do something. We can't just play this the usual way.
Right.
And how she handles that kind of attention on her. Now, to a certain extent, that's already happening, and she's obviously handling it very well. But that's always the next step, right? And any player who comes on this way, at this level, this fast, there's going to be a wave coming at you.
Yep.
Okay, what do you do with it? How do you adjust to whatever their adjustment is? That's what's going to be interesting. But so far, it doesn't seem like she's ruffled by, very much at all.
Well, and here's the beauty of it for her, because I was thinking about this when you brought up LaMelo Ball, and we'll bring him up for a second time out of context today.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point of getting LaMelo Ball is so that Anthony can give it to somebody that can go do something with it. And the Lynx have like 3 of those players.
They do.
Nafisa. Courtney Williams was good again yesterday. I think she finished with 27. McBride, to a lesser extent, can do that. She's obviously one of the best shooters in the league. And Natasha Howard, same thing. She's an all-star. So she already has those pieces where she can get rid of the ball and know that it's going to another MVP candidate, possibly, or another all-star, or another all-star. It's like it's a really put-together team.
Yeah, there's no question about that. All right, we need a top-of-the-hour pause, right?
Correct.
Let's come back, and I'll try to collect my notes online and get to as you mentioned, the extraneous stuff that to a certain extent becomes, I guess, a significant part of the broadcast. Part of what I want to get into is this notion we generally, I think, are pretty inconsistent about being bothered by when things turn political within a game or surrounding a game. And I've said this for years. I think often it's because if we are agreeing with whatever the sentiment is that's being offered, then we think it's a good idea. Hell yeah, we're going to be political. But if you're not, it's like, what are we doing? Why? Who's usurping? Are these individuals who have set up some of these confrontations? And so we tend to get a lot more suspicious about how organic it is when we think the position being taken is out of bounds. I'll explain, get a little more detail there. And we'll take a very brief pause here in the wind in Eagan, Minnesota. Stay tuned.
This is Dan Barreiro, live from the TCO Performance Center in Eagan for Vikings training camp on the Fan.
I feel like in this wind tunnel we're in, I should be yelling, Dorothy! You know, from the tornado scene from Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was running around, she was coming back from seeing the soothsayer, the tornado, the funnel clouds coming. They've already closed. The family, had like one of those storm shelters underneath. They've already locked that door. She didn't know where the hell to go. She ends up having to go back to the house.
I forgot they did that.
They locked her out. They said, we waited as long as we can. Sorry, you're on your own, Dorothy. Kind of cruel when you think about it. When you look back on it, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't think that would fly now.
No.
You can't do that now.
Well, there would at least be some kind of a message at the start of the film.
Yes,
indicating
a trigger warning.
A trigger warning of some sort there, right?
About a trigger warning, for sure.
The trauma of what it represents. So we're at a point where, again, politics are part of the story of the WNBA. And in this case, most recently, it has not involved Caitlin Clark so much as a teammate, right? Sophie Cunningham, who's now basically taking her bit on the road, right? Wherever she goes, now you got people showing up in solidarity. Then Sophie touches the ball, and she gets booed yesterday because apparently from people who think that what she's suggesting is the worst thing that's ever been mentioned. And it can get tiring because you go, well, does the basketball kind of get lost on this? But I want to mention again, I think we've talked about this before a few times, but if you bring it back to Clark, there's no doubt at this point, like everything, you could argue that whatever the Clark story represents has been co-opted by people on the right, Sharks and Jets in various ways that probably have no interest in women's basketball, probably have no interest in the WNBA at all, have no investment in it, but they're saying, I'm going to get on it because I got to be opposite whatever. I'm not even denying that exists. But you can speak to this too. And you can obviously agree or disagree. If the part of the story, and I've always said, we absolutely can make all the political, the manipulating that goes on in this story part of it. A lot of people, you could say, have some explaining to do with why they've taken the positions they have. As long as you don't ignore the beginning, as long as you don't leave out a component that is undeniable in the story, and that is this weird undercurrent that once she got in the league, it was almost like, well, why are people so into this exactly, and why are they forgetting about us, and she's getting too much hype. This sort of sense of we're not going to celebrate it as in lifting all boats, right?
Right.
So go back to her high school, go back to her college career, certainly.
Okay.
Here's what I remember happening. I remember people starting to talk about this unusual player who was a member of the University of Iowa women's basketball team.
Yep.
Who seemed to have something different going on. More than anything, the shooting part, the willingness to shoot from pretty much anywhere. And media jackals started writing about it. They started going, well, there's something going on here that's pretty interesting and pretty unusual, right? That's the genesis of this. And it's almost as if all those stories were written and all that word of mouth was spread, and people who may have known nothing or little about the story said, you know what, they're right.
Right.
This is pretty interesting. I'm kind of into this. I'm going to follow this a little bit more closely. And the problem was so many people did that then the same people were saying, hey, come to this story, now are going, wait a minute, why are you into this story?
Right.
Why are you as interested in this story as I said you should be, organically speaking? And so if you can't leave out, for me, the political component that basically many Clark fans were told, one way or the other, you have to kind of explain what your attraction is to the story. It can't be organic.
And who you are.
And who you are.
Yeah.
And what you're about. They were put on the defensive. So what happens is then part of the political community sees that and says, well, wait a minute, why should they be on the defense about that? And then admittedly, they glom onto it. But you can't leave that component out. The idea that people sort of had to, names had to be taken. You have to explain what exactly brings you to this story. That brought politics into it as far as I'm concerned. And Caitlin Clark comes, her first game as a pro at Target Center was in 2024, it would have been, I think, the summer of 2024.
Yeah, this is year 3, so 24.
So the first time she played at Target Center as a professional basketball player, Cheryl Reeve chose to wear a Black Girls Rock t-shirt. It's her right. You're going to tell me with a straight face that that's not making it political? That you would choose that occasion to send that statement that you could have sent any time and probably has many other times
any
before.
Other game, yeah.
But all of that can't be left out. That's all I'm asking. It doesn't mean there haven't been a number of people, especially on the right, who've capitalized on this and tried to manipulate it and turn it into something that it isn't. But you can't. It's too convenient to leave out, for me at least, some of that history. So if you're bothered by the politics of it, then you have to explore all of the things that brought it to that place. Because I believe that is political. Many of these moves have indeed been political. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure that when she filled up Williams Arena, Joe Biden was the president.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in 2024, when she filled up Target Center, at least the first time, Joe Biden was still the president. He was about to lose, but was still the president, correct?
Yeah.
So the idea that all along this was some kind of red, Make America Great Again conspiracy leaves out a bunch of stuff that happened in between. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm asking people to include.
Yeah, and she was even asked yesterday, I think, about the topic of the day, which is, and first of all, on Cheryl's shirts, none of those are ever accidental. Yesterday's, obviously.
Correct.
And again.
And that's, right.
She can do whatever she wants, right? But I let me ask you this, not to pivot, but what did you think? Have you seen the video of Cheryl and Sophie talking before the game?
Yes.
Cheryl went on for about 4 minutes talking about the whole thing. And I thought it was good. I
did too.
I thought it was not hysterical.
No, it was
not,
it was not even
down.
dogmatic, no.
I thought I give her a lot of credit for that answer, and I don't know what she said to Sophie there. I think they wanted to keep, but I do think you need more of that, because I do agree with Cheryl, that if you get reasonable people in a room on 10 different topics, you're probably going to be able to find a sensible solution on 7.5 to 8 of them. It's what we've talked about in politics forever, right?
100%.
But it is what gets amplified are the outskirts of it, or the fringes of it, and that's where it gets frustrating. So I'm glad she at least started that part of it.
Yeah.
Because I do think that's where some of the work gets done. But on the Clark thing, also, too, just in general, I know someone has said this before. It had to be Clark related, because by definition, when you get a groundswell of hundreds of thousands of new people watching something, we show up at U.S. Bank Stadium. There's 70,000 people there, right?
Correct.
I'm guessing they're not all of the same political system, beliefs, or background.
Right.
And somehow that kind of works, right? And now with women's basketball, I think because it had been, I don't know if one way is the right word, but it was different people were coming in, I guess, and there was all that friction right away.
Yes.
You're going to get, when you get a groundswell of people like that so fast, you're going to get people that maybe you didn't want there, or that don't agree with you on that.
Exactly.
And that's just,
and that's back to the bubble.
Mass.
That's part of the bubble discussion.
Right.
You can stay in you're going to lose some control over the audience if you want to leave the bubble and cross over. And you can say that I don't want to be out of the bubble, but then you can't have it both ways, and you can't be as big as you say in every other manner you want to be.
Right.
To get paid, to get compensated, to get
charter flights.
Exactly, the whole bit. So you're 100% right. That's part of the trade-off. That doesn't mean you can't call out stuff that you think's over the line.
Right.
But there's going to be more likely that there's going to be people coming with more different opinions. It's not the Cheryl history on Caitlin Clark has not been invented.
Right.
She may think she has her reasons.
Right.
But it has not. It wasn't made up. That was part of, in the leadership role she is in, that set the tone, which seemed to be, man, there's an elephant in the room here. Like people have to explain themselves if they're interested in the Caitlin Clark story, want to celebrate it, and they had, like I said, that they almost have to explain themselves.
Right.
That set the part of the parameters here and got us to where we are. She said the day before she came, here's the quote. Every kid has the right to access. What gets nuanced is, when you're beyond puberty, when you're in an Olympic sport, when you have scholarships at stake and that sort of thing. That's where I say that common sense people get together and you find common ground to find a way to be inclusive. What I would say to her, though, is you're trying to have it both ways there. Because it almost seems to me you're hinting to me an understanding that there may be a fairness issue the higher you go up the food chain. But if you say, we still have to find a way to be conclusive, I don't think you can have the best of both worlds there. That means, despite your desire for inclusivity, in this particular case, it will come at a cost.
Yeah.
And we should be able to say that without people losing their minds. That's part of the issue, too.
Last thing I'll say.
Right.
Good crowd yesterday. A lot of people from Iowa. Made it really difficult to drive downtown. Because they're not used to
they don't know where to go?
To the big buildings.
Yeah.
And I tried to be patient. I tried not to be a city slicker.
Right.
Like,
where are you going?
But I get it. And I have family from Iowa, and they're not going to appreciate it. I say we call my dad Waverly driving because that's where he's from, Waverly, Iowa. When you get somewhere, it's like you're not in Waverly anymore. You got to move a little bit more. Wrestling fans, I think they were fine on the other end of town. Everybody kind of got in where they wanted to go. Down by Target Center was a little difficult. Knowing where we were going to go. Just saying. Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, they're nice cities.
Well, at least you got it out of your system.
Yeah, but we got to pick it up a little bit when we're coming to the Twin Cities.
We will wrap up the program when we return.
You're listening to Barreiro, live from training.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
It's a Calcutta Clipper! Downtown, well, not downtown Eagan. I don't think we've been through this before. I don't think there is a downtown Eagan, is there?
There might be.
Suburban Eagan!
The fringes of Eagan.
Orthopedics Performance Center.
The outskirts.
I sincerely hope our listeners have sort of stuck with it and held through, because we did have, I thought, some good content today. A nice conversation early with Chuck Foreman. A good conversation with the head coach. Kevin O'Connell on a number of fronts. And in addition, Kevin Seifert joined after KOC, and then Johnny Athletic earlier to talk a little bit of football and some basketball, combination of both, of all, really. Tomorrow, we're back at headquarters. Is that correct?
It is.
Maybe Alec Lewis. We get a football presence.
Yeah, I'll text him.
We'll
I'll
see.
text him.
Louis still off right now. We're getting close to Mace season.
You're right.
Haven't heard anything if we're doing it again.
I've been in a group chat with him and some others, and
is it
again? Haven't heard. Don't know. It's amazing just how the year, like, time is a flat.
Is he going to go to any games this year or watch any? He didn't even watch any games.
No,
anymore.
well, remember when he goes up to Fargo, he watches the whole weekend.
Yeah,
there was like a 6-week stretch where Mace watched more college football than anybody.
You're right. When he's at Fargo,
he was totally locked in.
Yeah, you're right.
I know he's going to the Michigan game this year.
Oh, really?
Yes, because of our friend, his friend Dave Deno,
nice.
Michigan
That's
guy,
the
restaurateur, who just
Tampa guy.
Yeah, who's now the CEO out of nowhere of Cracker Barrel. Just happened last week.
Not a bad gig.
Oh, it's good being Dave.
It must be.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's going to be around a lot, Dave, but anyway, he's going to the Michigan because he's a Michigan guy. He's a Michigan and Minnesota guy. So so to answer your question, I know Mace is going to that game.
Wow, that's good to know.
In a suite, obviously.
I wonder if I should try to go to the Gopher game Halloween in Bloomington.
Come on out.
That's a night game, though. We don't know.
Well, we don't know, but
we assume it's going to be a night game. It doesn't have.
There's
to be.
no assumptions anymore. You just never know.
It's impossible to get tickets now.
Yeah.
Indiana football has now become impossible to get, or a hotel room.
Yeah.
You basically got to get a hotel room in Gary and drive all the way down to southern Indiana for the game.
That's true. That's how it goes now.
Man. That's the one downside about being relevant.
Availability. Yeah,
Suddenly,
you're right.
The old days, when I was at school, you literally could 10 minutes before the game, let's go over, watch for a couple quarters.
That was
it. It was easy to get in.
I was with somebody, an Indiana fan of recent vintage, and she was at the airport. She told me that when she was an Indiana student, which was during the Tom Crean era, when you bought season basketball tickets, which obviously are always and will always be an important part of it, they threw in football tickets for you as well at Indiana. If you bought season
I'm not surprised.
for the students.
Just here.
Like, if you want the basketball ones, you also get free ones.
Did they count that as attendance?
I think they did. She was funny, too. She's like, I was dating a football player, too. He wasn't very good. I felt like I had to go. And it just was just not fun. I'd much rather tailgate.
Well, we appreciate everybody listening today. And as I said, if you missed any parts of the show, I'm hoping Blakemore gets it all podcasted. And we will return. We're actually out here again at the end of the week. Kind
Friday.
of bookending it this week.
Yes.
Today and again on Friday as we